Have you ever wondered how the world's biggest problems actually get solved? Well, it's not by magic, and it's definitely not random. Turns out, there's a playbook, a whole team of players, and a pretty clear set of rules. So in this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain and look at the official rule book for making the world a better place.
So that brings us to the big question, right? Does progress just happen, or is there a deliberate plan behind it all? You might be surprised to learn that it's a really coordinated effort with a game plan that shapes the future of entire nations. Let's walk through exactly how it all works.
Here's our game plan for today. First, we're going to define the main goal. What even is development? Then we'll meet the key players. After that, we'll break down their playbook, see how we keep score, and finally, we'll tie it all together and talk about why this whole system really matters. Okay, let's start with the goal itself. What exactly are we talking about when we say development? We hear that word thrown around all the time, but getting the definition right is absolutely crucial because it's about so much more than just money. So here it is, the core definition. And I want you to notice a couple of keywords here: well-being and opportunities. This shows that development, at its heart, is about people. It's about their health, their education, their environment, and their ability to build a better future. It's a complete, holistic view of what progress actually looks like. And what's really fascinating is that there's no single way to get there. This slide shows all the different lenses we can look through. Yeah, you've got the classic focus on economic growth, but that's been challenged over the years by new ideas, approaches that prioritize human skills, or sustainability, or empowering local communities to make their own decisions. And these different philosophies, they often compete, and they totally shape how projects are designed and funded. So if development is the goal, who's on the team? Well, it's not just one group. It's actually this massive collaboration between three key types of players, and each one has a really critical position on the field. First up, and you could argue they're the most important players of all, you have the home team, the national community. We're talking about everyone from individual citizens to local businesses and community groups. They're the ones driving change from the ground up because they know the challenges firsthand. Next up is the state, which is basically the government. Think of them as the coach and the referee all rolled into one. Their job is to set the rules of the game through laws and policies, and they provide all those essential public services, like roads, schools, and hospitals, that create the right environment for progress to even happen. And rounding out the team, we have the international community. These are the global partners. Think organizations like the UN or major development banks. They bring in outside resources, stuff like funding, specialized knowledge, and support to help boost what the national team is already doing. Okay, so now that we know who the players are, let's look at the playbook. What are the actual rules that spell out how these groups work together? This is where the strategy really starts to come to life.
This slide just lays it out so perfectly. Look at the left side. You've got the national community taking the lead. They're creating policies, raising money at home, and driving the work. Now, look to the right. The international community is acting as this crucial supporter, coming in with funding and technical know-how to fill in the gaps. It's a true partnership, a two-way street.
The crucial point here is that this isn't guesswork. It's a highly structured cycle. Think about it like this. First, you assess that a region needs clean water. Then you set a goal. Let's build 20 new wells. You develop a strategy for how to fund and build them. Then you actually implement the plan. And here's the critical part. You monitor the wells to make sure they're working and making a real difference. It's this constant loop of planning, doing, and learning. So how do we know if any of this is actually working? Well, you need a scoreboard. And in the world of development, that scoreboard is made up of key indicators that measure progress. And, just as importantly, make sure everyone is held accountable. This table shows some of the most common metrics. We've all heard of GDP, that's just economic output. But the story gets way more interesting with things like the Human Development Index, or HDI, which cleverly blends health, education, and income into one number. And while no single number tells the whole story, looking at all of these together, from life expectancy to literacy, gives us a much richer, more human picture of progress than money alone ever could. So we've covered the players, the playbook, and the scoreboard. But let's bring it all home. Why does any of this matter? Well, it's because these abstract rules and systems are what connect a high-level global plan to the real, everyday lives of people. You know, this quote from the source material really just sums it all up. When these players follow the rules and work together, they combine their strengths. And that synergy, that's what creates real, lasting change. It's what leads to a future that is more fair, more sustainable, and more prosperous for everyone. And that leaves us with one final, pretty huge question. This playbook has gotten us this far, for sure. But with massive new challenges on the horizon, I'm talking about things like climate change and widening inequality, we have to ask ourselves, are these still the right rules for the game? Or is it maybe time for a whole new playbook? That's definitely something to think about.